These are great zooms from Apollo Image Atlas. This is a specific a picture, Apollo 12 Eratosthenes crater. So it's AS12-50-7433, and you click high resolution. Now, these are actually download on a new HTC phone. I've got 5 megapixel camera, so I zoomed in as far as I go, as the camera lets me, and it was great a resolution. So I just kept using screen capture on the images, and you'll see these white objects. They got towers on them, horizontal processes, all sorts of objects there. Now, I'll actually go through the pictures first. This is on the highest edge there, and what looks like a rectangular object there. There's just too many objects here to see, so you actually see those tubes running across the landscape. These are those 2 or 3 towers in that large square object there. I'll then zoom in on the original picture and click high resolution to actually show those objects. Now, this just looked too much like a pyramid, so I've actually zoomed in on the top there on that object that sits on there as well. This object was just upright. It's a very high, dark object, but what stands out is the horizontal processes coming from the side. This tubular object is coming over. There's a close-up of that object, so you'll see a black tower outline. You'll see the horizontal processes coming off. These are a very, very high zoom camera pictures from the screen, and I'll then go to the screen capture pictures. Now, that object was sitting on the edge of the crater, and it just looks so strange. There it is, it's just curled up. It's a very strange object. One more there. This is inside the crater, so there was a triangular type object there. Something comes over it. On this side around here, you'll see a white right angle object, and here looked what you'll see like a huge 2-headed statue. It's very hard to believe. There's that object there, so you've got one point going up and one going sideways. There's that strange object that I zoomed in on. It just looks so strange. I can't zoom these on this computer software. That object is just so bizarre. I'm not sure what that is. More of these objects, tubular objects coming across. These are great shapes. What they are, I don't know. That looks like a square, and this comes up, it's rounded. This on the edge of the crater as well. We've got these squiggly objects. One's right there. It looks like that area comes up. That looks like a very large rounded black object just floating there. It's bizarre. This is inside the crater. There's a triangular object there. That's white. That comes over there. It's a beaded object. There's one big black beaded object right there. It's like a tower. I really can't explain what these things are. They're just so bizarre that I don't think they're actually a NASA disinfo artifacts. I think they're real because I've actually seen similar ones on amateur telescope videos. These are huge platforms with tubes running out on all sides. So these are actually filmed by amateurs on Earth. So I then obviously trust these images as real. They're just too crazy to actually be false images. And these are like tubes going across, tubes underneath. Are they transporting objects in there? I don't know. That object just sticks out sideways. This is very interesting. There's a rounded object there that's very square, it's elevated. There's a sharp object there. And I'll try to zoom into those. There's a huge object sitting there. These are great pictures. There are two rounded objects there. More strange shapes. More strange shapes. This is quite strange. These are holes, or yeah, they're holes in the surface, but then you've got things running sideways. It just, I have no explanation of what they might be caused by or how they're produced. This is very interesting. You've got a tower there, crisscross structures there, and what looks like a cone-shaped object sticking up there, and this object right there. Just, is it a living object? Is it? No, just these objects are everywhere. They're very bizarre. There's one object there that seems to be going across. You've got rectangular structures there. There's all sorts of things on this. That's crazy. That just looks as though it's, you know, a living object right there. It's white. It's beaded. You've got a head structure there. There's one more down the bottom. I can't explain what they are. They're just too hard to work out. One more object seems to be growing on that ledge on the crater. This is that strange object again. It's a clearer shot. You've got a round shape there, square shape, sharp object coming off there. Two tubes or cylinders right there. That's a great zoom picture. These objects just curl up. They're white. One's rounded, sitting there. One's coming just out of that hole. I don't know what these things are. It's just fantastic. Look, there's that tower structure. There's that what looks like a cone coming out of there. There's some structures here producing shadows. There's an object coming right on that ledge. There's a tube running across there. This is that vertical object, a black object. More pictures of that. That's a very high zoom, so you obviously see a white object coming over there, but then you see that there. There's that white tower. I'm trying to zoom in close as I can, but I can't do any better on that one. Yeah, that's a good picture, and that obviously there looks like a cone sideways. Now we'll go to the screen capture shot. So this is screen capture shots there. That's the original image, Eratosthenes crater. Now if that's just a Google, all you see on the Google images are just plain rocks sitting there. But obviously the picture there exists. It's the Apollo image atlas AS12-50-7433. So I assume it's the real deal. So in that crater we had that, what looks like a statue. It's got those curved bumps there. It's too hard, I think, for any person on Earth to actually create all these strange objects when the same shapes are seen elsewhere. Now, the screen capture isn't as clear as the photos which I then took from the camera. It's cleared up the object by actually taking photos from a laptop. When it's enlarged, it's not that clear, so that technique worked a lot better. You'll see three holes there look very bizarre. So this is that strange object there, and that object going over. Again, the screen capture does not capture that well. There was the object in the crater, that white one. See, the screen capture didn't bring out the colours in there. After I filmed it movie mode, it picked up those colours. I then used screen capture software. There's an object there that arches up. It's got the white. It's got a beaded neck and a body. It just, I don't know what these things are. There's one big black one there. That statue looks like a two-headed bird. It's got carvings like scales or feathers through it and a tail. So I'm not sure what that is there. These objects crisscross the crater edge, and you'll see they're like tubes that lead across. There's other objects in the crater. Are these animals or mining equipment or just objects of worship? It just it's hard to comprehend. The pictures there are not that clear. So, and some more objects there. There's a big white object just sticking out there. It looks like on there you'll see it's got like legs. It's like a huge witchetty grub. There it is. You've got these white things sticking out from there. So, and that just seems to come out of that hole and try to enter the other one. It's very hard to comprehend that, but if I try to zoom that, I think I can pick up small legs on there. These objects go across, they're the tubes. There's that square object, these objects go across there, there's three rounded ones coming from there. There's that object that goes up with the little edges on the side. It's unusual, you've got one layer, two layers, three layers crisscrossing. Again, the actual pictures were clearer than the enlargements on zoom. There's that object with the head, the white one, the neck, a body over the rectangular object there. So it actually looks as though it's a living object there, or it could be a bizarre statue of worship. By who or what, I really don't know. It's too crazy to even think about. There's a white object sticking its head out of there. The camera pictures clear up the images. The way that I process it clears it up, and enlargements just seem to actually distort it. And I found that true also with the old iPhone 3GS. Now, here's bizarre. That object there enlarged has got three little white areas on top. I don't think it's just an artifact on the film, because it comes out of that hole and that hole as well. I think these could be the UFO orbs the astronauts saw. So it's bizarre. They seem to be coming out of those hiding places. One's got a blue tail, a little bit of blue coming behind that one, and white. And we've got I'll actually enlarge those zooms. This is strange. There's that round object, the square one. We've seen this picture before. There's just so many. There's that object high zoom. You see 1, 2, 3 things coming off it. I think this is the real deal. I don't think they're just accidental artifacts on the film. This is coming out of that hole. It's got a blue tail and that white area there. I don't think they're accidental. They could be. I hate to jump up and down and say, wow, I've got UFOs. There's that picture there of that object. It's a close-up, but it isn't as clear as after I actually filmed it, then took screen capture zooms. There it is there. It's got a white head and dark blue a body, dark blue grey. There's that black object, which is hard to pick up, but it's a definite beaded type of tower. Very unusual. There's that pyramid. There's some looks like a pyramid, and I actually zoomed in on the top there. And those other pictures. There it is there. There we have an object there. It looks like a wheat bix coming over it. You see the two empty areas there, and it just seems to be a structure on top there. There it is again. There it is. It's got one hole in it and the other hole. There's that peculiar white object. It's got things coming from the top of it. There's the other white object, and we're coming up soon. There it is there, high zoom. We'll come up soon to that translucent tower. I can't stop thinking about it. There's the other object, that big black thing, and some object coming up there that has a shadow underneath. Near there you'll see those cylinders coming out sideways. There's that sharp object. It seems to be... We're actually on this object here. We're actually analysing... I'll go zoom in back to that object there. So there are those cylinders. There's that big rounded black object. And there are the sharp process coming up like fish bones. There it is. Yep, that's it. There's that big rounded object. There's an object there. There are those rounded cylinders there on the side. These are very high zooms. And there's that white object, rectangular. I don't think they're rocks. They're just, and that was actually on behind. It just curves up. Very bizarre. Bit more bizarre. Again, we've got those two cylinders sideways. Got the big rounded black object there, that there, and that side thing coming over. Now this is really a big shock. All the other things I've seen before, but not this. I'll try and explain it very slowly. When I looked at it, it seems though that was a translucent tower with a white opaque object on top. Now, when you look at it, that line goes down there, that line goes up there, and the objects behind you can't see that well through there. And there's a curly black object right in there. I'm not sure if that's a larva or a creature or something. Around it, we've got a tube coming out that way and a tube coming out that way. I've never seen anything like this. It isn't as though it's an image that's accidentally produced. One side goes up straight, the other goes straight. The object there looks like an S-shaped object actually floating in there. That one really gets me. Now these are those two rods that point up on the side. Let's go back there. There they are there. There's the elliptoid vertical type of tube, see-through translucent. There it is again. So there are those two towers I was telling you about. There are those horizontal processes coming off, and there it is there. If you look at it from far away, you'll see that curving around. See those two prongs down there? That tube comes out sideways, and that looks like it's a vertical translucent tower with an object that's in the floating in it. It's hard to believe. There's that object, the two-pronged object there. That object there, I'll try to zoom in later. There it is there. So you've got one layer, two, three. That was unusual, that shape. But there's a high zoom that object in that translucent tube. It looks to be an S shape coming up through there. It is a definite object in there, so I'm not sure if it's an animal, a creature, or some sort of a larva in there. It just sounds too bizarre to be real. There it is. There's a line there, which is that tube or a tower. There's a definite edge going through there. One goes through there. There's an object right there in the center, and there's an opaque white object on top of it, or a lid or something. That's the way I see it. It's hard to comprehend, but it isn't as though that one's lying further back. It seems as that's vertical going down, vertical going down. One tube going out from this side, the other tube coming out from this side. So I think that is a vertical opaque tower we're looking at. And there are those objects behind it. That thing coming out there. There it is again. One tube that way, the other that way. There it is there, going up. There's an object right in the center there, and you see that line going down there. That line going down there. It looks opaque. It looks like it's vertical. It's just hard to believe that I've actually found that. It's just too hard to comprehend that that's actually on the moon. Wow. So there are the horizontal ones coming across. There it is again, that object there. And that was just a floating through Sydney. We'll talk about that one. Now this is the image, what we're looking at. You just type in AS12, Apollo image 12, -50-7433. You'll see here it's a part of the Apollo image atlas. These are Hasselblad pictures. You click onto it. So it's quite easy to find, but these structures, I mean, if you actually look at that picture, I'm zooming into that really, really fine detail. All you see is that big crater, it's Eratosthenes. You see that statue in the center of it, there it is there. Eratosthenes. Click full resolution. And if you actually Google that, it won't show the statue in there. It just shows a pile of rocks. So I can't understand how I think this is the real image, because obviously there's too much detail here, and these are all very, very bizarre tubes across the ground and all sorts of weird shapes that I've seen in all other moon images as well. Even that one there. But I haven't seen that tower. I've actually caught a high zoom of a translucent tower. There's one going up there. There's all sorts of really bizarre objects that I've used high zoom on. And it's very hard to even think these things exist. There's an object there. You have to look real close. So an object coming up there. And that's how close they're actually coming down to the ground level. And then I'd probably use about 5 times a zoom on even the smallest objects on the screen there, like that object there. Actually, I haven't zoomed in on that one. That's a very, very strange one. Okay, so let's see what we're looking at there. So there's a picture there. The objects I was looking at obviously here. There's that statue, there's a white object, there's that thing with the white head curve that goes over. Is it a live object or some sort of object of worship, or is it a mining type of object? There's that white object there. There's that big black tower you saw. There's that triangular thing. There are all these things coming from the ground. There's that bizarre object there that just curves around. We zoomed in on that one. There's that object there. These are those tubes going across the ground. There's a big black object with objects sticking out. Actually, there's one more there. I didn't see that one. That translucent there's one object there as well. It just sits there. It's got a white aperture coming across. There's one object going across the ground. Each time I look, I see more things that need high magnification. Even to find that translucent tower now it's very hard. They're just so small. Now here are those white objects. They could be artifacts on the film. That's more likely, but obviously they're right next to the black areas. Are they UFOs? I don't know. There are those white squiggly objects coming out of the ground. There's that object we've had before, the black one, the square object there. Here are those cylinders there. Obviously you can see them quite clearly in this picture. There's one object. I haven't zoomed in on that one. It just sticks right up there. There's that big white object there. And as we come up, you'll see a furrow there, a square object there, and this furrow comes up to this area. Where you've got the square there, the rods, the tubes going across the ground. There's that white object. I'm sure you can see that like little roots there sticking out. I'm not sure if that means it's actually adhered to the ground. There's a squarish object there. So as you just travel down, the image is so clear. There's that what looks like a pyramid-shaped object. There's an object right up there that we zoomed in on. There's that white object there. There's a rounded object there on a square tower. I haven't zoomed in on that. There's one other object. Actually, I've picked up more objects. There's one there, which I'll add onto this video. It's just each time you look at it closer, you just pick up more and more. There's that object with the tower, like a cone coming up, and then that object there. There's heaps of objects here. There's that white object that looks like a big witchetty grub and that head and the head on it. That darker object there. There's that object pretty big tower there. You see the top of it black, and you see the horizontal bits coming out. There's some more strange objects right there. I'm trying to get that translucent tower. That was a very hard object to find. And when I found it, I just zoomed in the best I could. So I should see it from here. The structures should pop up again, which I actually saw. There's one object coming out of the ground there. There's just more and more objects that I seem to be picking up. It's very hard to believe. There's one object there that left a shadow. There's a rounded object there. So I'm trying, obviously, with the camera. This is a 5 megapixel camera on a HTC phone, to zoom in on these and just download the pictures. Bizarre object right there. Another one there. The harder you look, the more strange things you might pick up. It's like abstract art. There's things there you've never seen before. You can't explain how they exist. There's one object there that leads to that hole, and these holes are like perfectly round. They can't be just meteors. Meteors can't be always perfectly round. There's an object there. There's that strange object there. It's a very large structure there. I've now lost that translucent tower. It was very hard to find in the first place. I'll just see if I can find it further down. It's a squiggly object right there. There's objects everywhere crisscrossing that whole landscape. Interestingly, I can't find the translucent tower. I caught it in one snapshot, and obviously it's so small that everything else obscures it. I think it's in this area here. This is a heavily built area. That's interesting. We've got a structure there, object there as well. I think the tower's in this area here. There's one object coming out of there. That's how hard and easy it is to pick things up, or just find them once and wow, where was it in the first place? Now these were zooms that I took after when I realized there were more there. So that object is coming out of the ground. There's the shadow. These were camera shots, so they're always very clear. There's a whole range of objects right there. That object is just on the edge, very lumpy, not sure what it is. One other object straight there. There's that same object. This is unusual. We've got those tubular objects on the ground. There's that curly black object. There's two beads there, and there's some tubular objects there. There's a shadow of an object which is vertical, has a hole on top or an aperture. That's a very bizarre object. It's very beaded. There's a round ball on top, and it's composed of those tubular beads. It looks growing, obviously. These are objects coming off the side. That one, that's the object there that looks as though it's changed now. That's where the tower should be. So there's that white object on top, and the curly objects coming across the side. It doesn't look like a translucent tower here. That's the strange thing. There's one object there which looks very beaded. The object coming up there. object coming out of that hole there. That object there. And those objects crisscrossing the hole. That white object. The object's coming across. There's an object right there. Very bizarre. That one is very bizarre and beaded. There's a very bright round head there. This process is coming over. That's very bizarre. There's that black thing that just stands there. Arches across. There are those black round things next to it. So bizarre. Is it a real object? Is it a growth like a tree or a cactus? Is it a strange rock formation? It just looks too bizarre. There's one object there that is going over across those holes. That isn't a hole, it's like a pincer right there, because there's no hole there, it's actually a shadow. It's very bizarre. There's again. Big round object there and what looks like pincers, and that object coming through there. Another object there. Another object. That is bizarre. That's that big black round ball on top of the what looks like a cauliflower, a leaf type object, and there are the objects around it. There's again, that's very bizarre, that one. Here's that the rounded beads and that object dark coming across there. That's very bright and looks a silver in colour. So each time you take a different angle, it brings up some of the other things in the object image. That one's interesting. It's just a beaded, arches over, and it's white. Is it a living object, a statue, or some sort of machine? I don't know. It's just too crazy. Here are those bright white objects. Look, are beaded like big circles. There are those three holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is bizarre. It just comes out of there. It's got like all these processes sticking out of it. More bizarre processes. That one. That's it.